Now that we have established our building structure and I gave you a basic understanding of the framing square, this is the body, okay? On the framing square, it tells you common rafter length per foot run, okay? And then it had, we're not going to deal with the hip right now, just the common. All of these numbers here, from 18 all the way to 2, it tells you what the hypotenuse of the triangle is. So, for instance, if it's a 2-inch rise instead of an 8-inch rise, it's still going to be a 12-inch run. And the hypotenuse for that, hey, somebody's knocking on the door. Turn on that light out there. So, my apologies. What you doing here so early? Oh, I'm sorry. What's wrong with you?
I feel sick.
Oh, I'm sorry about that. You need something? You want me to get you something?
No.
But anyway, my daughter just walked through the door, so just wanted to. So, yeah, for instance, this 8 here, instead of an 8-inch rise, if it was a 2-inch rise, it'll still be a 12-inch run. On all of these numbers, it's going to be a 12-inch run. And the hypotenuse would not be 1442. It would be 12.17. For a 3-inch rise, is going to be, the hypotenuse is going to be 12.37. And again, each one of these is going to always have a run of 12 inches. 4, and so these are all the measurements. And again, this is for common rafter length per foot run. So, now that we covered that, I didn't want to go deep into that. But, so let's get back into this. So, the way, I want to show you some things about a rafter. I want to show you some labelings about a rafter, and I have it all. I have a chart of this that I pre-drew a while ago, and I'm going to put this down here for you. Now, here's a rafter right here. This rafter here, I would call that the body, okay, or the rafter length, okay. So, on our sketch that we drew, I want to draw a dotted line from here to here. Why? Because that's the actual length of the body line, of the building line, going all the way up the rafter. If you would take that line and extend it all the way up to the top of the rafter, that would be that length. So what we're going to be doing is figuring out the rafter length from the building line. And this part is called the tail. The tail. That's the tail of the rafter. And I would call this the body of the rafter. Now, on different construction sites, they call it different things. That's the body. Body and tail. Okay? So now, with our 3.973, I'm going to show you how to do that on the calculator. Because this is feet. So for every foot, the rafter, the rafter is going up, the stance is going up 8 inches. So all I have to do for this is multiply 3.937 times the hypotenuse. And look what we're going to get. 3.937 times 14.42 equals. So that lets us know that from here from the building line to the end of the rafter, okay, where the rafter butts up against the ridge, the length is going to be 56.77. Okay. Now, in the field on your tape measure, 75 is 3/4 of an inch. So I would just make it 56.75. Okay. Or 56 3/4 on a tape measure, because you're not going to have it broke down into hundredths of an inch. And that's what the decimal 0.77 is, decimal hundredths of an inch. It's 77 hundredths of an inch. So now we know our rafter length. And for illustration purposes, I'm going to try to draw this rafter here. And this lets you know that this mark here, the end of this line, is going right to this section right here with the tip of the rafter. Okay, the tip of the rafter, and it's going all the way from the tip of the rafter. And again, this right here is a blow up of what's going on over here. From the tip of the rafter all the way down to the building line is 56.77. Now, let's say you got a 1 foot overhang. Let's say this overhang from here to the building line, to the wall or the building line, is 12 inches. All right. It's 12 inches. Now, what you're going to have on here also is subfascia. All right. You're going to have subfascia on here. Either fascia or subfascia. All right. It depends on what you're doing. And so with the subfascia, it's going to be 1.5 inches. So you have to subtract 1.5 inches from 12 inches, and that's going to give you 10.5 or 10.5 inches. So from here to here. Now remember, this is your run measurement. So I'm going to draw like a straight line here, just like that's the soffit. But from here to the wall is 10.5 inches. Now you can figure out, you're going to be able to figure out what the tail length is. You're going to be able to figure out what the tail length is very easily, because, and so what we're going to do is turn 10.5 into feet. 10.5 inches. We're going to turn that into feet. And the way you do that is this way. You go 10.5 divided by 12 inches equals 0.875. 0.875 is the same as 10.5. 0.875 feet is the same as 10.5 or 10.5 inches. All right. Now, what you do is you take this 0.875 and you multiply that times 1442. Because see, this is the flat part of the rafter here, of this measurement, the horizontal measurements, they always correspond with the run of the pitch. Okay, the run of the pitch, or the run of the pitch. I think that's the easiest way to say it. So you take 875 times 14.42 equals 12.617. So from here to the building line is 12.61. Now, 12.61 comes out to like 12 and 9/16. Okay, 12 and 9/16. All right. So, and with these two measurements together, when you add these two measurements together, you get the total length of your rafter. Now, most carpenters, what they do is they figure out, most carpenters that I know, let me say it that way. Most carpenters that I know, they figure out the rafter length body first. And then they figure out the tail. And you could do the tail with a framing square, or you could do it with the calculator like you just saw me do it. And you can add these two together. All right. And then your bird's mouth, that's going to be a whole nother lesson. I'm going to show you how to figure bird mouth and the tail and the planter cut and the fascia cut and all that kind of stuff. But I'm going to need real lumber to actually show you that. And so what I'm going to do is make another video, and I'm going to continue this part that I'm doing right now. And I'm going to show you how to do a bird's mouth and so on and so forth. I want to show you how to do it with a framing square. I want to show you how to do it with a calculator, I think. The framing square is going to be, of course, much more easier. Now, this right here is just basic roof framing. This is just basic common. So what you would do is you're going to figure out, after you got after you have these two measurements and you figure out your tail and all of that, that one first rafter you got, that's going to be your pattern. And you got to trace your rafter exactly on each rafter. You got to be very careful to make sure all your angles are nice and square. And I would recommend having a large speed square on the job, or a large Swanson speed square or whatever kind, and on the job, so you can make sure before you're making your cuts that your bird's mouth are on point and they are lining up with the stance. Now the stance, this little dotted line that I gave you right here, it corresponds and lines up with the stance. When I'm making my first pattern, I always put my stance. Some people call it a stance. Some people call it a HAP. H-A-P. H, it's an acronym. H-A-P. And HAP stands for height, above, plate. And the plate is talking about is the ceiling plate, the wall or wall plate, the ceiling plate or wall plate that your ceiling joist is going to sit on top of, and they're going to be right next to your rafters. Okay. So this basically concludes this part of how to figure out the length of common rafters. Very easy, okay? So if you have any more questions, please share this video, like it, subscribe, and comment. If you have any questions, I've been doing roofs for over 30 years, okay? Now, sitting down here and explaining it to somebody, it's a little different with cameras and all this kind of stuff. You know, it's a little different than doing it on the job. You see, and the top plate, okay, the top plate is the plate that this line is called, which is the HAP. And the HAP is the stance of the rafter, okay? From the top plate all the way to the top of the rafter stock, okay? And that will vary. And that, that's more complicated and more involved. But one of my next videos that I'm going to do is mixed pitches or bastard pitch rules. I have a way that I could show you on how to do that on a sheet of paper. And the reason why you want to do it on a sheet of paper, because you have the construction, the Bible, the Bible Rafter construction book. You have the Construction Master. But when you get really, really up into high level carpentry, those things won't really help you out too much, because you're going to run into things like where you have overhangs that are like 4 feet, 5 feet, 6 feet, 8 feet. And those books, they don't have charts for that kind of stuff. And that's where this kind of construction comes in. Now, when you know how to do this, work the Construction Master, and you can figure out all of and read the Roof Framers Bibles. That's the name of the book. Roof Framers Bible. I mean, you really are a master carpenter. You really are truly a master carpenter. When you just pick up any old calculator and figure out any roof, use the Construction Master calculator and use the Roof Framers Bible. When you know the things in those 3 books, you really are truly a master carpenter. And I would say you are a top level master carpenter. You're not just a master carpenter. You're a top level master carpenter. You're a first tier. And of course, experience is a key. Because many of these things that I'm showing you right here is theory. And it's a whole lot more to this than things that you run into on the job site and that I haven't even touched on. That, as far as bracing, plumbing, leveling your gable ends, making sure the gable ends are perfectly leveled, your ridge, it's a whole lot more to this than just sitting down. But if you have a working knowledge of how to build a roof and frame a roof, and you have some experience, this will help you out a lot. But another book that I'm going to also recommend to you is Marshall Gross's. Marshall Gross. Okay. Just put in Marshall Gross. I can't remember what the name of the book is right now. But it's a very complex, very detailed. And that's how I learned how to work the calculators, the regular calculator, the construction calculator. Matter of fact, I learned how to use this calculator before I learned how to use the Construction Master calculator. Now, of course, this way is a lot more involved. Now, when you're on a job site and you're just doing a regular common roof like this, you don't want to go through all this unless it's like something custom. And somebody just asks you to come and, hey, put a roof on here and just put a little pitch on it. And they talk in language like that. Then you just throw it up there. And you use your calculator. Okay, some guys will step it off. I don't step off anything. I just don't step off anything because it's not accurate. So that's the real old timer way of doing things. Before people knew how to work scientific calculators and so on and so forth, they would step off a lot of stuff. But there's too much room for error when you step off things. With a calculator, it gives you the measurements within 1/100th of an inch. Okay. Now, nobody can cut within 1/100th of an inch because, it's an inch divided 100 times. But that just shows you how much more accurate the calculator can be, or division can be, or doing it on paper and so on and so forth, where you can get the exact measurement. So that's all I wanted to show for today. And the next video I'm going to do a video where I'm showing you how to do a rafter tail. All right. I want to show you that. And I'm just going to figure out how I'm going to show you that with the equipment that I have. But anyway, I'm going to sign out. Like, subscribe, share. If you have a project that you need assistance with, or you need somebody to help you build, you know, I can not only build roofs, cabinets, mortise locks, roofs, cabinets, mortise locks, and stairs. These are like the top carpenter type of things in rough construction, you see. So if you have a project that you need built, where you need something built, a structure built, just let me know. Hit me up in the comment section and I'll get in contact with you. If you have any questions, if you need some instructions, we can come out no matter where you are, and we can arrange something and do some instruction. You have a trade school where you need someone that can come out for a few days and come and show and do some instruction for you. We can do that too. And yeah, just get back in contact with me at One the Tough Guy. And this series that we're doing is called the Carpenter Series, Master Carpenter Series. All right, signing out. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.